As a medium, I received a task from a wealthy woman to accompany her to the Indian mountains in search of her missing husband. The heavy rain caused the mountain road to collapse, forcing us to take refuge in an abandoned mountain hotel outdoor. However, in the evening, a group of black-eyed monkeys burst in. But when the local private guide accompanying us saw the group of monkeys, it was as if he had seen something terrifying. Without a second thought, he dashed into the heavy rain and vanished without a trace. Not long ago, I received a task from a wealthy woman. Her husband, a biologist, went missing while conducting research in the Indian mountains. The wealthy woman hoped that I could use my abilities as a medium to help her find her missing husband, dead or alive. So, I accepted her commission and set out with my assistant. Along with us on the ascent were over 30 people. For the most part, they were tourists. There were 3 groups in total, besides a 4-person team, which hired a survival guide from Miami. The other 2 teams had local private guides. Soon after entering the mountains, a torrential downpour began. Thick rain and fog gradually enveloped us. Suddenly, a loud collapse sound came from behind. The tourists were startled. 2 local private guides calmed the tourists down. They told us it was just a small landslide, which was quite common here. However, the way back was already buried. Fortunately, those 2 local guides remembered that there was an abandoned hotel not far from here. So we had no choice but to stay overnight at the hotel on the nearby mountain. In the lobby of the abandoned hotel, our guide instructed us. Find a room and settle in. Everyone, do not go out at night, and we'll set off again in the morning. As we passed by the 2 local guides, I saw them kneeling on the ground, their hands outstretched towards the sky in a hugging gesture, as if they were praying for something. The hotel was in a very dilapidated state, lacking even basic electricity and water supply. I couldn't understand how such a well-located hotel could have gone out of business. The corridors of the hotel were pitch black, devoid of any furnishings. Suddenly, a group of monkeys burst in, as if we were intruders in their territory. Seeing the appearance of the monkeys, I couldn't help but frown. The 2 local private guides, upon seeing these monkeys, seemed to have seen something terrifying. Without a second thought, they dashed into the heavy rain and vanished without a trace. The others didn't even have time to stop them. Our team's private guide stopped the tourists, who wanted to run into the heavy rain to look for the 2 local guides. And our guide told us they are local Indians, and it should be their belief, because monkeys are considered symbols of evil. However, the issue with the monkeys remained unresolved. Many people were startled by these black-eyed monkeys. Some even had to take insulin on the spot, and others were taking medication for heart conditions. I gave my assistant a look. My assistant immediately understood. My assistant took out a packet of grayish-brown powder from the bag and handed it to me. I took the powder and scattered it towards the monkeys. As soon as the powder made contact with the monkeys' bodies, they seemed to be electrocuted, jumping back. They roared, glaring at me fiercely, and retreated until they disappeared into the rain and fog. After the monkeys were driven away, the tourists began to look for rooms. We checked each room one by one and finally found 2 rooms that was still in relatively good condition. I shared a room with the wealthy woman and my assistant, and the son took another room. They were in rooms 301 and 302, separated only by a wall. The others also gradually found rooms they could stay in. After tidying up, I lay down on the bed. Our guide created a mobile phone group chat for all the tourists. Since the tourists were staying in scattered rooms, this would facilitate communication for our departure the next morning. I sent a message to my assistant, locked the door from the inside, and sprinkled powder around the room inside and out. My assistant replied with a thumbs-up gesture. With the sound of the rain, I quickly fell asleep. Suddenly, a series of bang 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 knocking sounds woke me up. I got up and saw the wealthy woman about to go to the door. A sudden chill rose in my heart, and a bad premonition filled my mind. I immediately got out of bed and stood in front of the wealthy woman. I shook my head, indicating to her not to open the door. The person outside, seeing no movement inside, knocked a few more times and then spoke. Open the door. The rain has stopped. It's time to leave. I took up my phone to check the time. It was 2:30. In the morning dusk, who would leave at this hour? And it's pitch black outside. Moreover, the voice of the person at the door was very strange. I hadn't heard this voice among our group. Who would leave at this hour? And it's pitch black outside. Moreover, the voice of the person at the door was very strange. I hadn't heard this voice among our group. At this moment, I received a message from the guide in the group chat. Do not open the door. The person outside knocked a few more times, but seeing no response, they stopped. I pressed my ear against the door, and from the other room, intermittent knocking sounds could be heard. Complaints began to appear in the group chat. Are they having a mental breakdown? Who leaves at this hour? I haven't rested enough to leave now. Who is the person knocking outside the door? The guy didn't explain much in the group chat. He just repeated one sentence. Do not open the door. I quickly called my assistant on my phone. Don't worry, I haven't opened the door. It's our rule to never let our clients get into trouble. After my assistant hung up, I turned my head and saw the wealthy woman sitting on the bed, lost in thought. Seeing me looking at her, she turned to ask me, what's happening outside? I shook my head and told her, the person outside might not be human. Don't open the door. The wealthy woman widened her eyes in disbelief, her voice trembling. What about my son and your assistant? Double quotes. I reassured her to relax. As I was here, nothing would happen. I asked her to rest in the room while I guarded the door. The knocking continued outside, persistently. The disturbance of rest angered many people. For safety's sake, I still dialed 911. Due to landslides, the road was blocked. The police couldn't come for the time being. They could only enter once the road was clear. My palms were slightly sweaty. As a psychic, I was extremely sensitive to spiritual energy. The unsuccessful call to the police made me even more uneasy. After all, I couldn't be sure what was outside. I took a deep breath, drew a ritual formation, and tried to see through the door, but all I could see was pitch black. A strange smell gradually filled the air. It was like fermented goat beards. 10 minutes of scrying yielded no results, so I lay down by the door. I chose to take a short nap to recover my strength. In the haze, the knocking sound echoed again. At this time, someone in the group chat couldn't stand the disturbance once more. I can't take it anymore. I want to see what they want to do. After the message was sent, there was a sound of a door opening. I pressed my ear against the door. After a door opened, there was only a very short, sharp scream. If you didn't listen carefully, you wouldn't even notice it. Something was wrong, very wrong. The person who opened the door should be the one who spoke in the group. A few minutes later, the sound of a jaw crushing was heard. It's okay, it's just the two local private guys. They brought us some cakes. Everyone can feel free to open the door. Then he sent a picture, showing some cakes. The cakes had cream paired with various fruits and sugar frostings, looking quite delicious. Because of being disturbed from rest, some people still cursed it a few times in the group chat on their phones. But just now, when I was pressing my ear against the door, I didn't hear any talking sounds. I asked the person who spoke earlier in the group, buddy, which floor are you on? Second floor. Everyone, don't panic. The hotel will send another round later, ensuring every tourist gets to eat. Instantly, My back was soaked with cold sweat. My head stood on end. The door was opened and closed in less than 30 seconds. No communication took place, and that guy was very angry when he went to open the door. Yet, not a single word of rebuke. Two guys knocking on doors at midnight to deliver cakes. The thought of this scene was eerie. As a psychic, my intuition told me, tonight, everything was out of the ordinary. I quickly pulled out my phone and called my assistant. I'm not sure if it's it, but we need to be prepared for everything. Understood, my assistant immediately replied. At that moment, I received a message from the guide on my phone. I'm not sure if it's it, but we need to be prepared for everything. Understood, my assistant immediately replied. At that moment, I received a message from the guide on my phone. It turns out those two local guides have returned and brought cakes with them. The cakes are delicious. Everyone should open the door and take one. The guide then sent a photo of the cake. A cool breeze blew in from the window, and I felt a chill all over. The knocking sound echoed again. It was eerie. The guide's words were too eerie. The two local private guides only came to work for a living. Where would they get extra money to buy so many cakes? This place is far from the road down the mountain. Moreover, the road has collapsed. Where could they buy so many cakes? At this moment, someone in the group added me as a friend. With the note to 01, just below my room, I accepted his friend's request. Several messages immediately popped up. Something's not right. Don't open the door. The two guides had very small backpacks when they went up the mountain, and the road is blocked. Where did they buy the cakes? I remember the guy in room 205 took insulin in the lobby, right? Eating that kind of cake would be deadly, wouldn't it? I replied to him, how do you know he lives in room 205? Suddenly, I felt a gaze staring straight at me from behind. I turned around, and in an instant, all the blood in my body seemed to rush back. A black-eyed monkey, it was clinging to the window, holding a knife in its hand, grinning at me in a bizarre way. The bloodstains on the knife were still wet, a sinister deep breath. I drew a pattern on the glass window, took out an ancestral mirror. Lit a candle. I recited a few spells. I sprinkled some powder onto the candle flame. In an instant, the mirror reflected a strong light. The black-eyed monkey seemed to turn into a puppet, falling straight down from the third floor. I thought of holding the knife, and couldn't help but feel that this mission was a bit tricky. I thought of holding the knife, and couldn't help but feel that this mission was a bit tricky. I sent the situation to my assistant, instructing him to be prepared. I also reminded him to lock the doors and windows. Only then did I see that 201 had sent me many messages because he took my room. That man has a very bad temper. It's good enough that he doesn't hit people. And your team's private guide is a fitness enthusiast. How could he eat such high-calorie food? I didn't reply to what he said, just told him, be sure to close the windows. There was a monkey with a knife outside just now. A few minutes later, 201 downstairs replied. There's also a monkey outside my window. After that, there was no more news. I checked the room thoroughly and positioned the mirror towards the window. As long as a monkey dares to come up and enters the range of the mirror's reflection, it will lose its ability to move like a puppet. I thought about it and decided to send a message in the group. Everyone, check your windows. There are monkeys trying to get in. At this moment, I just hoped to make people aware, as I was not sure what kind of monsters had appeared at the hotel. Moreover, there were issues with the guide and the guy in room 205, so I didn't dare to say too much. There's also a monkey outside my window. Too scary. I really hate monkeys. The guy then sent a message. You can open the window and feed the monkeys. It's also a feature of this trip. We are here for a hiking trip, not to feed monkeys. Exactly. We didn't bring that much food. These wild monkeys Who knows how many germs they carry? Fortunately, the people in the group were quite rational, which relieved me. Then I took out an ancient book from my backpack and started to flip through it. This book has been passed down from my ancestors for generations, recording many strange creatures. The current situation was beyond my imagination. Suddenly, I thought of something. My forehead was covered with a thin layer of sweat.